Senator Manchin said that he is a no-go on the climate deal because he has concerns about inflation. Is there a scenario where you all try to wait for better inflation news and then try again on that front?
Well, let me just start by saying, better inflation news. I mean, that's again, getting into a level of forecasting that I'm not going to do in this period of uncertainty. What I can very much assure you, though, is that the price of gas is considerably lower in July than it was in June. And this is something the president referenced when the June CPI report came out. We're talking about, as I mentioned in my opening comments, a situation where the price of gas is falling at about the fastest rate it has in a decade, and where more than 20,000 gas stations now are selling gas for less than $4 a gallon. That will show up as some easing of prices. I think when it comes to reconciliation, the president has a view that was very clearly laid out in a statement last Friday. He will always follow a legislative path to get the deal done for the American people, to deliver the kind of relief, both near-term and long-term, that he came here to administer. But if part of that legislative path to reconciliation closes, we have other options. We can certainly pursue reconciliation with two critically important policies: lowering the cost of prescription drugs and lowering the cost of health insurance premiums to folks who get that from the exchanges. Particularly on those are both really important. Let me say a couple words about them. When you're talking about the exchanges, you're talking about 13 million people who are looking at a potential increase in their average premiums of $800 a year. Now, the Center on Budget, where I used to work, did a calculation showing that for a couple 60 years old with $45,000, so not rolling in dough exactly, failing to extend these enhanced premiums would raise their premium cost by $1,900. Now let's talk about prescription drugs for a second. Presidents from both parties have long tried to accomplish this critically important measure to stop prohibiting Medicare from competing in the market, to lower drug prices for our seniors. Now, I think you have to ask yourself why it is that in other countries, people pay 2 to 3 times less than we do for the same drugs. The same pill costs 2 to 3 times more here than it does there. The relief that we could deliver to our seniors from allowing prescription drugs to compete, as the president has stressed, is not just essential for their living standards and their well-being. It is a way to actually ease inflationary pressures. So this is a very clear choice of whether you stand with Big Pharma or whether you stand with American seniors in the Medicare program, which, by the way, will be $100 billion better off over 10 years if we can achieve this in reconciliation. Now, the Democrats appear to be aligned on that, and that along with the premium coverage would be an absolutely huge win for reconciliation.
Thank you. Following up on Jeff's question about transitory inflation, I'm curious what made the White House realize that the phrase was inaccurate and also politically problematic?
I think it has to do with the, I'm going to use economics, or the periodicity, which is, see, this is why you do a better job than I do. I think it has to do with the ambiguity about the length of that word. Is what it has to do with. I think it has to do with the ambiguity about the length of that word. Some people hear transitory and they're going to think weeks and months. Others hear transitory, particularly probably economists who are used to the broader ups and downs of cycles, and think longer periods. And I think the lack of specificity about the cadence that was implied by that word, the temporal cadence implied by that word, led to a level of ambiguity that wasn't serving the debate very well.
What about just the second part about politically problematic? Was that something you were hearing from voters, seeing show up in polls, that language was hurting the president?
I think that when it comes to politically problematic. You've heard the president say in recent days that the inflation is unacceptably high, and that bringing it down is his absolute #1 domestic priority. And I think that is all you need to know in terms of what he is dispatching his economics team to do in that front. Now, I also think, and let's not lose this because I think it's really important today, this is why I tried to focus in on my comments at the top, is that his actions, this is not just forward-looking. It is, but it's not just forward-looking. Actions he has taken thus far are providing real relief to the American people, okay? His release of oil from the strategic reserves, his increase in E15 ethanol, these are not the only reasons that the price is behaving as you saw in those charts. But they are in the mix. The president's actions taken thus far are helping to provide real relief, real breathing room for the American consumers at the pump. So this is not just an aspirational a goal of this president. This is something he and his team are actively working on.
Good. In the back.
Thank you, sir. I have